Stop Compulsive Overeating, Lose Weight and Gain Energy by Skye Cullen, Results Coach. Do you want to stop overeating, lose weight and gain energy, all without dieting and rigorous exercise? Hi, my name is Skye and I help women who overeat and binge eat on poor quality food to take control of their lives, lose weight and gain energy. And you can do this without strict dieting and a heavy exercise routine. So let's have a look at your challenges. These are challenges that you'll be having now and you may have had them for some time. Overeating at each meal. If there's food there, you'll eat it. And if you make too much food, you'll just carry on eating it until it's all gone. Grazing throughout each day, really without a pause. Whatever's going on throughout the day, you'll be making sure that you're getting food in your mouth. So if you're preparing food, if you're doing food for your children, if your children are coming back from school and there's food in their box, you may be eating it. It just carries on throughout the whole day with not any discernible break in your eating. And of course, binge eating. Maybe also purging through using laxatives, strict dieting, fasting or rigorous exercise. So binge eating is consistently eating too many calories at one time and probably with poor quality food. Feelings of guilt or shame after a binging episode. This is really common and it's one of the biggest issues for people who binge eat. You feel hungry all the time. Well, rather than saying that you're hungry, it's that you've lost the ability to know when you actually are hungry. And so you put food in your mouth and then an hour later you might be hungry again as you see it. But really you're hungry for something else, it's not the food. You're addicted to white sugar products that contain plenty of carbohydrates and fat. If you make plans about dieting, losing weight or fitness to compensate for your binge eating, they get broken, probably every time. Overweight, obese or a healthy weight, or you may have weight fluctuation. Now if you're overweight or obese, then in a way people can see that you've got a problem, you know there is an issue there. But if you're a healthy weight, this can be an extra challenge because if you try and tell people that you binge eat when you're a healthy weight, they can actually just laugh you off. The other thing is that you can have weight fluctuation, so your weight can go up and down, especially if you're somebody who does the purging as well as the binge eating. And it can be things like exercise or it can be things like fasting as well. So your weight will be going up and down. This, of course, adds the extra challenge to the size of your clothes, and you might have 2 or 3 or 4 different size clothes in your wardrobe and have to get out different ones at different times of the year. So you'll be hiding evidence, so you'll be really secretive about your eating habits by getting rid of wrappers, eating when out and about, and when you're alone. You'll be feeling threatened and unsafe by social situations that involve food. This can be particularly threatening when you've perhaps been invited out to, say, a party and there's a buffet and there's food that's on tap there all night, and you know that if you'll eat it, if you eat just one bite, it can lead to a binge session. So you don't want to go because you don't want that to happen and you don't want people to see you eating food as well. A lot of binge eaters, they don't like anybody seeing them eating at all. You'll be having obsessive thoughts about food, how to get it and when to eat it. And this can take up many hours of the day. In fact, it can take up just about all of the day. And also you'll be eating faster than usual. Now there are other related challenges that you have that are linked with binge eating, and you may not have linked them up, so I've just done a list here so that you can see some of the things that you may be suffering from that actually are related. So the first thing, have you got aching in your tendons, ligaments or joints? This is caused from inflammation from probably both the poor diet and the amount of food that you're eating. I had this problem especially when I got up in the mornings and I'd be aching and feeling just uncomfortable when I was walking for perhaps the first 15 minutes or so. Your emotions. You'll be feeling just okay or down or depressed. You'll never be happy. And by happy, I don't mean excited or excitable, because most people, even if they're depressed, can also feel these types of emotions. I'm meaning things more about being contented, feeling that you're doing what you want to in life, feeling that any of the tasks that you're doing, they're not too much trouble. You just get on and you just live. So happiness is a more full thing than just a feeling. You probably have candida issues, and the four main ones that people suffer from, the symptoms, are thrush, cystitis, itching skin and headaches. But if you actually Google it, you'll probably see there's 30 or 40 health issues that can be written down that are actually alongside of having candida. And what you'll find is as you manage to sort out this candida, all these symptoms should just disappear. Energy slumps, for which you use stimulants as a pick-you-up. Well, it's really difficult when you've been binge eating for a long time. Quite often the stimulants that you're attracted to don't pick you up at all because your adrenals are actually so exhausted that they can't respond at all to the sugar that you're putting in. So if you're having biscuits or sweets, or if you're using things like coffee or tea with the caffeine in them, that your bodies can be so exhausted that even though you're continually trying to get some energy, it doesn't actually help you very much. The next one is that you'll be feeling overwhelmed with life. The decisions that you have to make, the things that you have to do, the people that you have to see, all of it can feel too much. And that's because your focus is very inward. It's on yourself, and it's on looking at the food that you're getting and trying not to eat food. And that can take up just so many hours of each day. The next one is social isolation. Are you feeling alone or feeling unsupported? And the thing about feeling alone is that you can even be around people and still feel that you're alone. And it's probably because you won't be really sharing what's going on for you with people. And this can link into feeling unsupported as well. So there are people there that are around you, but you just haven't had the courage yet to share with them actually what's going on in your life and the fact that you do need some help. You'll end up being alone because you want to be alone as well. And because of this, you'll have poor quality relationships. So even people, well, maybe even especially people that are living in your house with you, if you're in a relationship for your partner or your husband, or with your children as well. A specific health issue that may have been caused by or undermined by binge eating. That's something that it's hard to get your head around, but there are health issues, a lot of them, and I'll be talking about those a little bit later, that binge eating causes. Right, some more here. You may be resorting to what I've called a two-level buying of foods in an attempt to compensate and strike bargains between the binge eating that you do and the health issues you have, or the health issue that you may not want. So you might be frightened of getting, say, heart disease, for instance, or diabetes. Level 1 foods I've called the health foods, and level 2 foods are your binge foods. The next one, you're affected by other people's mood, the weather, the news, jobs to do, things to do, people to see. Your mood will go up and down. So a really good way to judge whether this is going on for you is that if the weather's sunny, you'll be feeling better. And if the weather's rainy or cold and windy, then you'll be feeling not so good. So what you haven't got is you're not solid in yourself. You haven't got the core of strength and just solidity to feel your own emotions that aren't changing because of what's going on around you. The next one is being a perfectionist. Lots of binge eaters are also perfectionists, and one of the issues about getting out of binge eating or compulsive overeating is that it's very hard to do unless you get the answer exactly right that's going to help you. And one of the difficulties with this is that there's not just one answer. There's lots of things that you need to do to get your binge eating sorted out, but they're all, once you know what you're doing, you can do it, and you don't have to be perfect at it, but that's something that you'll learn and adapt and change along the way. The next one, being in control of your environment, other people and situations. 95% of people who binge eat have controlling personalities. Now, what you'll find here is that as you are out of control with your eating, I think there's a correlation between that and trying to control your environment and other people in the environment. And maybe that's why it's such a high percentage of people who have these controlling personalities. On the flip side of that, you'll also be having and suffering from pleasing other people. So as well as controlling, there's the flip side, pleasing people because you don't feel that you're good enough unless you're doing something for other people. As well as this, you also feel out of control and powerless about yourself and about being able to change things for the better. So, stopping this eating, losing weight, getting some more energy, you just don't know what to do. Also, you'll be feeling that there are very few safe places to be, where the boundaries around food are still intact. So in bed might be one of them, unless you're somebody who actually takes your food to bed with you, or in the bath might be another good situation. For some people it might be in the car. I know that in bed every night for me, that was my safe place when I was right in the middle of my binge eating at its worst, and I didn't want to get out of there in the morning, and I really wanted to go there in the evening because I knew then that I wouldn't have any food with me. Food is boss. It's the king or the queen in your life. It controls your actions. You're really suffering with being a victim almost to the food. It's like it tells you what to do. You'll be quick to temper, but also many times unable to express it. So this is really common for binge eaters, and this is why the emotional aspect of binge eating is so strong, because something will go wrong, you'll have an argument with somebody, or something won't be resolved in the way that it needs to be. And what do? You take it out against yourself and you start eating a lot. Finally, you've tried so many times, either by yourself or by using different systems, for instance, dieting, cleansing, exercise, to stop your binge eating. But nothing has worked and you feel worried and hopeless whether anything can actually help. I want to tell you something now, which is that you are not alone. There are so many people who are suffering with the same thing as you are, probably living next door to you, most of them. And just to show you and to share with you what's been going on for me, my story is now coming up. I've done a video. My story. By the time I was a teenager, I was suffering from recurring cystitis and thrush, bad skin and erupting spots on my face and back, that steadily became worse throughout my 20s and early 30s. I paid numerous visits to the GP and used the standard prescriptions to try and keep me free from the symptoms that they gave. This included things like antifungals and steroidal creams and sometimes antibiotics as well. I was having a lot of amoxil at that time, and I eventually became highly reactive to it and got hives every time I took it, so I stopped that. By the age of 31, and with constant cystitis, I was on a regime of antibiotics that I took 3 times a day for the next year and a half. If I tried to come off them, then the symptoms would come back almost immediately, and even though the symptoms weren't strong, all the time that I was taking them, I could just feel cystitis just sort of beneath the surface, so I knew that it hadn't sorted it. I had also suffered from extremely heavy periods throughout my late teens and 20s, which caused iron deficiency, and I was given iron tablets from the GP that caused incredible constipation as a side effect. I decided that enough was enough, and even though I felt fearful, I decided to come off the antibiotics and somehow sort myself out. I just didn't know what I was going to do at that point. So although I'd said this, it took me another 18 months and immense daily pain from cystitis attacks before I eventually made my first appointment with an alternative therapist, kinesiologist actually, and I just wanted to try a different approach. My resistance to seeing her, not so much because she was alternative, but because I decided that if that didn't work, I had already decided that I would be killing myself, because it felt like a last-ditch effort to recover my health. What I'd been doing up until that point was drinking 14 pints of water each day to keep the pain at bay until about 2 o'clock every morning, at which point I'd have to get out of bed and I'd have to drink 5 pints of water in 15 minutes in order to stop the attack. This happened every night for a year and a half. I was absolutely at the end of my tether and I felt frightened. I felt unhealthy to the core. I was exhausted. I was hopeless. I was angry. I was really confused. I'd been for more tests at the hospital, very invasive tests. My work suffered and my relationships too, as I was always anxious. I was scared. I was angry underneath the surface. And it erupted onto my family and made me not very good at my job. So that was the first turning point for me in understanding the relationship between the actions I take and the effect this has. I saw the kinesiologist every month for 10 months, and at the end of this time I was free from symptoms for the first time in many years. I actually felt fantastic. I felt euphoric because of it. What a result. As part of the treatment, I'd given up bread, alcohol, yeast, cheese and peanut butter, and yeast extract, or Marmite. They were all like some of my favourite things, and they went right from the word go. I spent over £1,500 overall on the monthly sessions and the herbs and the different things that I was given to support the healing in my body. And I just felt it was worth every single penny that I spent. But my immune system had been under attack for so long that I had another health issue on the way that had probably been there for quite a while anyway. Only a month later, I found a lump in my breast and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh, this was just horrors for me. I was shocked and I was disbelieving and I was crying every day, really, for 2 weeks. I just thought I was going to die. Well, after a desperate 2 weeks, suddenly my self-survival switch turned on and I decided I would research what I needed to do to help myself. But I still wasn't strong enough to opt for no surgery, even though I felt I wanted to sort it out for myself. So I underwent surgery and I had my nodes out. Luckily, it hadn't spread. By this time, I'd found out my next course of action. I was about to start on a regime of juicing, enemas, vegan fresh food and supplements. This was like Gerson type therapy. I refused the offered radiotherapy and tamoxifen, as I'd read ominous things about them and they really frightened me. I just didn't want anything to do with them. For the first 6 months of the therapy, I felt awful. My energy was so low. I had terrible body odour, my hair was greasy all the time, and I was so tired every single day. But good things were happening, and eventually I started not only looking well, started looking and being vibrant. By the time I'd been eating like this for 9 months, my energy levels were going through the roof. I started to feel like a teenager again, actually. Well, even better than a teenager. I don't think that I'd ever remembered feeling so good. I remember at one point I was going for a walk with my partner and we were going up a steep hill and I ran up and down this hill about 4 or 5 times whilst he was walking because I couldn't contain the amount of energy that I had in my body. So I got to grips. I understood the relationship with like really good food. It was all organic. All these supplements, everything that I was putting into my body, it had done what it was supposed to do. My skin was healthy and it was glowing, and friends had started to make comments at how healthy I was looking. But something was really wrong. It was not with the therapy, but with me. I couldn't stick to what I was supposed to be doing, even though I had started seeing the results. I'd been cheating whilst on this therapy like every now and again. This would take the form of obsessional thoughts about chocolates or crisps or chips or something like that, all the binge type foods. And these thoughts would get stronger over a few days and then I'd succumb to them in a big, big way. I'd started to binge eat food, bad food as well. I told nobody. I was very secretive
and I felt a complete failure every time I did it. But I couldn't get rid of those feelings that somehow I was missing out. I wanted their food, everybody else's food, not my boring, no salt, 6 juices, salads and vegetables every day. I wanted out, but I was so afraid that I'd die if I failed at looking after myself properly within these guidelines that had been set. Anyway, I continued to eat like this for 14 months altogether, and then I became pregnant with my second child. My struggles with food and health were not over, however, and by the time my daughter was 6 months old, I'd found raw food books and started to travel along this road. I started on that path by 2003, overnight changing my diet to 100% raw. 4 months later, I crashed and went on the biggest binge of banned foods since I'd started, and it didn't stop there. I upheld the belief that raw food was the way and the light, that was the best way to eat and the best way to be. And I kept it as a beacon in front of me, but it's almost like I used it against myself as well. My eating became more and more erratic and damaging. Added to that, I started to do juice fasting, which I didn't understand then. I was attracted to it because it was a health practice, but I didn't realise that it was also a purging practice for when you start binging eating. It's one of the things you can do. So I'd fast for say 2 or 3 weeks at a time. On one occasion, I was very proud of myself. I went right through Christmas on a fast, and then I broke it with the biggest piece of Christmas cake that I could eat. I felt absolutely awful for the rest of the day. I also did extensive colon cleanses, kidney flushes, more enemas, all sorts of cleanses. It's like I knew what I wanted to do, yet I couldn't do it. But like slogging a dead horse, I repeatedly reaffirmed to myself what I needed to do, and then I repeatedly broke it. Why was I doing this? And it was such a terrible cycle, because I felt so much guilt and shame for what I was doing, because I set myself up almost to fail all the time. This pattern continued, and I started to get thrush and cystitis yet again. And then eventually, like big horrors, I felt a lump in exactly the same place again on my breast. Nothing I was doing was working. That's how I felt. I had another lump, carried right on actually. I learnt more and more all the time about healthy food, cures for cancer. I did my own research. I bought my own products. I went to Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida for 3 weeks to do their life change program. Carried on doing their protocol that they had decided for me for the next 14 months. But I was so depressed at the end of that time, and I crashed repeatedly through it with binge eating on and off. And my lump was responding to what I was doing. So when I was in a good phase, it would lessen in size, and when I undermined my health, it increased in size. When I tried certain products, it reduced remarkably. For instance, I used MMS, a protocol that they had decided for me for the next 14 months. But I was so depressed at the end of that time, and I crashed repeatedly through it with binge eating on and off. And my lump was responding to what I was doing. So when I was in a good phase, it would lessen in size, and when I undermined my health, it increased in size. When I tried certain products, it reduced remarkably. For instance, I used MMS. I also used Black Cell 3 times. But I had such a painful response from that, I couldn't use it anymore. My failing relationship added another dimension to it all, and I decided to flee the country for a few months to get away from the stress. I planned a stay at a raw food place in Costa Rica. It went against all my learning so far about cancer research that I'd been reading, as I was going to be eating mainly tropical fruits. But the thing that I was interested in it was that it was minimal fat and also minimal protein. And I knew that there are some very good things that happened with people when they did this. So anyway, sugar and cancer is a big no-no in the alternative health field if you've got cancer. So I went anyway. I went to Costa Rica. I stayed for 4 months, and absolute wonders happened there actually, because my lump reduced in size by about half. After about 3 months, it happened overnight. I had huge amounts of pain and heat in the area, and then the reduction happened the next day. And I thought, am I onto something here? Does this really work? Well, I wasn't ready to go home, and so I negotiated some more time away from my family, this time to a spiritual community in Portugal. I'd started to realise that my difficulties were inside of me, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it and sort myself out. So up until this point, I think really that I thought the food was it. The food could sort me. The food could make me healthy. And I'd seen some wonderful results of it. But because I couldn't continue doing it consistently, I was undermining my own health. And I realised that I had to get to the bottom of something. I didn't know what that something was. So the food was vegan, vegetarian, and with copious amounts of salad. Great. I really wanted to go there. So I went on a course they were running firstly that lasted 8 weeks to really try and get to grips with my ego, to subdue it. I stayed for 8 months altogether and thought that I had at last found the answers to my problems. I felt like I'd arrived at last. I felt like this was it, wasn't it? This was it. I was doing the stuff that I needed to do. But unfortunately, something deep inside of me didn't agree with what I decided in my head. So I got up to my usual tricks again when the stress was on and when I felt restricted, which is what I was realising about my eating, that as soon as I felt restricted in any way, that my eating went even more haywire. So I started to binge eat whenever I went out from the community, and eventually I put on all the weight that I'd lost, plus more. So what was going on now? It didn't make sense to me until I was back in the UK again with my family for a few months. The focus of the community was to put a person's ego to the side, and one of the chief practical ways of doing this was to serve others almost continually. This giving and serving was extremely tiring, and I could see that most of the women there were suffering from cyclical exhaustion, myself included, when we would have to take a couple of days rest just doing nothing. We were always on duty to serve the whole as needed, whatever was wanted. I am so grateful and thankful that I spent time there, because eventually I started to see the patterns that had been unconsciously going on during my whole lifetime. I was a compulsive giver. I could never switch off from it, and worse than that, I was worth nothing if I didn't give. This is what I learned. Something big was starting to click, something like really huge. But it came in dribs and drabs, and I resisted what I needed to do, because it went against everything I'd ever learned about how to be me, how to be a woman. It went against my conditioning, my values, my impulses, my beliefs, my whole way of being in the world. It was simply this: to put myself first, without guilt, with love, with honesty and with passion. And I had absolutely no idea how on earth I was going to get there, because my ever-present guilt tried to squash these new thoughts. And because I tried so many things for so many years to get myself better, I just felt a complete failure, and surely this would fail as well, if I even knew what to do. So I had the answer to my health issues, my life issues, and my overeating. I was sure of it. Something had to start and click inside me. They were, of course, all interrelated, but I had no method and no system and no structure to support that transition, and I really wanted one. And then, at exactly the right moment, I stumbled across what I needed to take my life to new levels and to start to live with passion and purpose every day, something that I didn't even realise that I needed at the time either. I found other people who were on the same journey, had come to the same conclusions about what they needed to do, and had found the same window of opportunity. Transformations, when they happen, they're absolutely miraculous. I am living with vitality, sustained energy, and clarity of purpose. That purpose has become not to live as long as I can, but to live a life full every single day, based on wellness and not illness. I have no fear in making decisions I need to make, so I make good ones to nurture me. I feel excitement and anticipation when I get up in the morning. My relationships have improved enormously. I've taken control of my whole life. I'm in the driving seat. I'm joyful and I'm amazed by the beauty in this world and the beautiful people who live in it. I eat to live and I don't live to eat. And I'm a success just for me. Everyone I love can feel it, and that is what I call healing, and that was what I needed to do. People started to ask for my help when they saw how well I'm doing. With diet, with being healthy, with relationships. I have spent time being shy at the thought of helping others. I did it wrong so long ago when I tried to force my own crooked truth onto people. But eventually I responded, and this time I'm different, and people come back to ask for more help. I feel a true, mature sense of responsibility to help people on their terms because I now know how to help myself. I've seen what I have learned.
And the great news is that it's not your fault, and it never ever has been. So I hear you saying, well, it is my fault. I'm the one who's doing the overeating and I just need to stop it. And I can't stop it, but that it makes it my fault. Well, why is it not your fault? Let's have a look here. You've been taught, we've all been taught, to expect instant results from very little effort. It's great when we're thinking of things like labour-saving devices around the home, so the vacuum cleaner or the washing machine. We just use the end product and it works brilliantly. It does the job that it should do. But what we haven't taken into consideration is all the work that went into the design and the manufacture of the product that we're using. Well, it's actually the same for our bodies. Unless you put the effort in to keep your body working in tip-top condition, you'll suffer. And the problem is that you'll be looking at life in this way where you want an instant result for very little effort. Just because everything around us appears to be like this, but it's different when it comes to our bodies. You're being constantly bombarded with information, much of which is conflicting. It's not at all comforting, it's confusing, and it can cause even more procrastination for people. So let's just take an example of health information. There are health gurus out there that tell you to eat one type of food, or to eat at a particular time, or to eat 17 small meals, for instance, or to eat twice a day, to eat different amounts, and to eat different vitamins and different minerals. There are so many conflicting stories out there, and they're normally coming out pretty quickly. So it's really, really hard. If you want to, say, sort out your health and get to grips with your binge eating, there'll be even lots of information about binge eating and what the different ways to sort it out are. You know, it can cause severe procrastination. You can't make any decision because you're never sure whether you're doing the right thing. Our Western culture is set up to view the person as flawed with a problem that needs fixing. And it's very hard not to accept that reality, and you won't even know that you're living that reality in a way. If you just, let's have a look at education, for instance. The child is seen as an empty vessel who needs filling up with information that other people tell them is important. And when you've had this for the years going through school and maybe college or university as well, it makes an adult who thinks that they don't know what to do, mainly, and that they'll need some information from somewhere outside of themselves to tell them what to do to get things right. You're encouraged to see a pill, a supplement, or a lose weight quick diet as the solution to the problem, which is you, and your symptoms, which appear out of the blue. There's not much talking about the causes, so why the symptoms are there at the end of the day. And if the problem is actually you, rather than you being the solution, then the focus is all wrong and it makes it your fault. The capitalist agenda. Well, whether there is one or not, a capitalist society is based largely on competition between individuals instead of enabling community action between and for the people. And what this means in real terms is that you'll always be looking over your shoulder and defining yourself in comparison to what other people have. So you'll be either thinking of yourself as somebody who's missing out because you haven't got things, or you'll feel better than in an arrogant way because you have more than other people. It doesn't lead to any sense of equality between others and the pulling together of people to help resolve issues and problems in a communal way. Food quality's gone down. We eat more and receive less nutrition. Packaged and processed food is a huge part of what people are eating, and it's got more and more acceptable to eat packaged freezer food or microwaved food for ease and because people feel that they're so busy. You're bombarded with bad news. It's available 24/7. There's channels that are dedicated to news. And although they call it news, I really want to flag it up that it's not news, it's bad news. And it's news from all over the world, and it's really hard to cope with. And it links into the procrastination and the inability to make decisions and the feeling bad about yourself because of all the bad things that are going on around the world. You're being constantly distracted and tempted to live with your desires driving you. Well, our desires, they drive all of us, so it's not about getting rid of desires. But if that's all that's being sold as the best way of living your life, then you're going to want more and more of it all the time. And what this gets rid of is the long-term aims or solutions or the results that you might want for yourself, because of the short-term gratification is actually the sitting in the driver's seat and driving you. And that's where a lot of the difficulties for binge eaters can come in, because you're always thinking about, what the next nice food is you're going to have and you're going to buy, and you're looking for the new types of foods that are in the shops that you can have a go at and get your mouth around. So the net effect of all the above keeps you unaware of what to think, feel and do about enriching and deepening your experience of life. But it's your absolute right to do just that. If you're still here, thank you so much for coming this far with me. So let's look at the benefits that you'll get with my support from using this approach. It's really very exciting. So here's the benefits. You will be able to stop your overeating, constant grazing or binging and purging if you do this by using the abundance principle, which is something that I'll introduce to you later. You'll lose weight gradually without effort through dieting or hours of exercise. You'll gain energy gradually and consistently, lessening the need for stimulants as this happens. You will gradually stop having continual obsessive thoughts about food and start thinking about things that are important to you. So you might say to me, well, food is the thing that's important to me. And yes, of course it is, because that's where you're at and that's what's happening in your life at the moment. But once you start to release that, you'll be amazed at what comes into your brain and what you start thinking about instead. You'll be able to separate your health from your food in a totally new and exciting way, leaving you calm, relaxed and open. You'll have a massive reduction in anxiety and depression and gradually feel more and more motivated and contented. More benefits. You'll be in control in the right way of your whole life, not only of your food. You'll have abundance in all areas of your life. You'll be having ease and openness around food and people. No more worrying about social situations and whether you should eat or not. You'll recognise real hunger and eat when you need to without guilt. And annoying, niggly, unspecified health issues will disappear. So I'd like to tell you some statistics now about overeating, or binge eating as it's known as well. Overeating, which is eating more calories than needed on a consistent basis, and by a consistent basis it means 1, 2, 3 times a week or more, is a leading cause of death, taking up to 20 years off the life of a person. And it's not just that the 20 years will be taken off your life, but it's for the last, say, 10 to 15 years, you'll probably be in and out of the GP and having more and more prescriptions for things like high blood pressure, if you get diabetes. So there'll be lots of symptomatic things going on in your body as a result of overeating. There's an estimated 1 to 30 to 1 to 50 chance of a person suffering with binge eating at some point during their life. 12 million people in the UK suffer from compulsive overeating. That's 1 in every 5. Particular health risks associated with overeating are diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea and cancer, mostly breast and bowel. Particular mental health issues are anxiety, depression, low self-esteem and shame. For many bingers, a strict dieting regime whereby you skip meals, you cut out foods, or you're not eating enough may have started their life of binging. It can become life-threatening. So now I'd like to ask you some serious questions. Are you ready to be fully committed to stop your compulsive overeating? Do you realise that this offer is only applicable to you if you're willing to be 100% responsible for your actions? Are you clear that this offer is not a short-term solution or a quick fix? It requires your commitment, your motivation and consistency to bring results. Do you understand that I'm not a medical doctor and I can't give you medical advice for a health issue? Are you ready to truly invest in your own health? And finally, do you realise that in order to be in full control of your life, you must be willing to do whatever it takes to get there? Great, you're still here, so you must have answered yes to all those questions. For still being here, sticking with it and saying yes so far, I want to say fantastic and well done to you. It's a courageous step to take. But once you do take it, all sorts of marvellous changes will begin to happen. So now I'm going to share my offer with you. So here's the support. This is what you'll actually get. You'll have coaching calls, which are 1-to-1 every week for the first 6 months, then every other week for up to a year or more. You'll get group coaching calls with up to 10 people like you, all working towards the same results every month for at least a year. You'll have 10 modules of training material that will radically support the changing you released every other week over 20 weeks. You'll have 6 abundance steps to take at your own pace alongside the modules. They'll be released as you and I decide you're ready for each consecutive step. There'll be a forum for extra questions and answers and also a link up with your fellow attendees to continue making friends and gaining support from each other. There'll also be an all expenses paid 5-night stay in the beautiful Pembrokeshire coast in West Wales, UK, in about September-October 2016, where we'll be on retreat and also have some amazing workshops, they'll be announced later, and eating wonderful organic, vegan and vegetarian food. Here's the 10 weeks of modules. There'll be one every other week. Week 1 is groundwork, setting the scene, travelling at your own pace, reaching out for help, and non-isolation. Week 2, finding choice around food. This really does intertwine through everything that you'll be doing from now on, and it will probably come up in most of the conversations and the group work that we're doing every month and your one-to-ones. Understanding the emotions of compulsive overeating. It's a temper tantrum. Why your emotions are always right, and understanding the nutritional challenges to overeating. Week 4, 3 products to take to increase your energy and well-being and reduce anxiety while you are focusing on changing your habits and beliefs. Week 5, how to calm down and reduce anxiety easily. Breathing, stretching and shaking. Week 6, how your brain works. Amazing insights to let you know what's really going on and how to work with your brain instead of against it. Week 7, the water of life. How important is water to your overall health? Awesome facts and figures, you'll love this. Week 8, understanding key hormones that regulate how you feel and what you can do about it. Week 9, hormonal imbalances and how to resolve them. Most, if not all, overeaters will have them. Week 10, news. Bad news, good news, and your type of news. This is a really empowering exercise and you're going to love doing this one. So why is this an offer that you actually won't want to refuse? Well, because it contains all the elements that are critical for your success, namely, one-to-one coaching with me to get the results you know you want, using a system I've learned that is incredibly powerful and successful. You'll be travelling the journey with a group of people who are like you in the group coaching sessions. You can listen to their story, their challenges, their breakthroughs, and you will benefit as their own transformations inspire and inform you along the way. You're tired of trying to work it out on your own. You need ongoing support from people who understand your challenges and will walk by your side. That's why you're here. Because you'll be travelling at your own pace with the 6 abundance steps, something that you may have never truly done before. I'm wondering how many years you've been trying to stop your compulsive overeating, lose weight and get some energy back. If it's anything like me, it was a punishing 14 years. Furthermore, I was going round in circles rather than building on what I knew, bit by bit. Until, that is, I met this system that I'll be coaching you in. At last, I started to get some results. No more wasted years trying to find answers. I have had so many eureka moments. This system may take you just another 6 months to 2 years to integrate, and at that point you'll be transformed beyond recognition and to your amazement. There'll be no more wasted years. You're still here. Fantastic. You're obviously someone who's ready to get some new results from doing things differently from now on. So here's what happens next. You'll see my email address on the very last page. Send me an email to register your interest. Write Overeating 2015 in the title bar. Press send. I'll then send you an email reply with a questionnaire as an attachment. Fill out the questionnaire fully, give as much detail as possible, and then send it back to me. I'll then invite you to have a free one-to-one Skype consultation with me. We can also do this with telephone if you'd like. If after this we're both 100% sure that it's right to continue the process, I'll ask you for a £200 deposit to secure your place. There's a closing date for applications. It's the 18th of October 2015. The coaching and modules will start week commencing the 9th of November. Your investment for this offer. So how much will your investment be to receive one-to-one weekly coaching, monthly group coaching, 10 modules of training, 6 abundant principle steps, and an all expenses paid retreat, all for up to 2 years, plus you'll have lifetime access to the modules and the group coaching sessions? Well, I'll start to answer that question by first off telling you how much money I have spent over my 14-year search for the answer to my problems. I couldn't believe it when I added it all together, but it came to a whopping £35,000. That's on things like supplements, retreat centres, courses, cleanses, organic food, airfare, products, kitchen implements. So much stuff I've bought over the years. Now that's an average of £2,500 each year, and what I didn't have was any dedicated support around me. Now let's look at it a different way. If you were receiving life coaching, so let's say you go to see a life coach, this is based on one-to-one sessions and none of the extras I'm including. It will cost you between £400 to £600 for 6-hour sessions. That's between £3,500 to £4,800 a year. They charge for their time. I'm not charging for my time, but for the results you will get. That takes your commitment and my commitment and ongoing support until you're there. I'm as committed and as invested in it as you are. Furthermore, if you've researched online to look at coaching packages, you'll see that they're charging anything between £5,000 and £10,000, in many instances for a short course lasting 8 to 16 weeks. That is jam-packed full of information, but lacks follow-through support that ongoing coaching will provide. Some of these courses are actually fantastic with the amount of information that they give you. But if I asked you now about what sort of information you have about how to be healthy and how to live a healthy life, you've probably got all the answers already in your head. But the problem is that if you don't have the support in order to make these shifts in not only what you know but what you do, that's where things can start to go wrong. So your investment for the full package is £2,997. If that sounds like too much to pay all in one go, then I can also offer it in 4, 6 or 8 monthly instalments. 4 lots of 800, 6 lots of 547 or 8 lots of 417. People find it a lot easier to invest in, say, a new car or a carpet, a holiday or a conservatory. Has this been the same for you? They can see the thing that they invested in material form immediately. When it comes to personal health, it can be a different story. Where is the thing that you invested in? Well, if you take a look in the mirror right now, you'll see what you've just invested in, your very own self and your very own health. Now that can feel risky, I do understand that. So because of that, I'm offering you a 100% money back guarantee, which means absolutely no risk for you. I won't ask why. You'll get your investment back as soon as I receive written confirmation via email that this is your decision. So 0 quibble equals 100% safety for you. This offer is of immense value just with your weekly one-to-one Skype calls, your monthly group calls, your 6 abundant steps to implement at your own pace, your 10 modules in video format, one every other week, and your one-to-one coaching for up to 2 years. On top of that, you'll also get lifetime access to all the training and group coaching calls, 2 extra telephone calls if needed every month for the first 6 months, and all expenses long weekend, which is 4 full days, retreat workshop in South Wales, UK, sometime in September or October 2016. And also lifetime access to any extra material I'll put up from time to time. And I will be putting up lots of extra material, but at the moment, until we've got our group together, I'm not quite sure what your particular issues are that would be of absolute benefit to you at that time. Reasons to take action straight away. There's a no-risk 100% money-back guarantee. You'll have no more months or years spent researching or just hoping that you'll stumble on a cure for your problem. You'll start to implement the very best of what I've learned from research I've been doing over the past 21 years. It's a supportive, systematic approach based on results that won't let you down by leaving you stranded. You'll be saving money, time and effort. Money on supplements and courses you don't necessarily need. Time researching and implementing, and the effort it takes to incorporate new routines and new ideas by yourself. Ease. The abundant steps move at your own pace. I'm offering it to a maximum of 10 people at this time to keep the group small and cohesive. The closing date for applying is October the 18th, 2015. Here is exactly what will happen. You'll see my email on the very last page. Send me an email to register your interest and in the title bar write Overeating 2015. I'll reply by email and attach a questionnaire for you to complete and return back to me. You'll then have a free, no obligation consultation with me to see whether it is right for us to work together. We'll both decide. I'll then ask for a fully refundable £200 deposit to secure your place. The closing date for applications is the 18th of October. Your first one-to-one coaching call will be the week commencing the 9th of November. The first module will be released week commencing the 23rd of November, and the first group call will be the week commencing the 7th of December. I'll remind you about these dates, that things happen again later. So, to make absolutely sure that you are 100% positive that this is the best decision for you, I don't work with people who are unwilling to be committed. I won't help you if you want advice for a specific medical condition. I won't work with you if you want a short-term solution. And I don't work with people who just want to be told what to do. If you're still here now, then you must know that you are ready for this. So I want to say to you, congratulations, well done. Because your life is starting to get so much better already. And why is that? Because the three main obstacles to your success are already out of the way. Denying there's something wrong, not reaching out for help, and lack of commitment. Some practicalities then. I have room for a maximum of 10 people. It's going to be a small group and you'll get to know each other really well over the up and coming months. The deadline for applying is the 18th of October 2015, with your deposit paid by the 31st of October. I will only accept a small group, so if you want a place then don't leave it until the last minute. Be one of the first. Act now to secure your place. This video is being sent to other people just like you who are ready to find answers and take action to make a great new life for themselves. Don't let them take your place by leaving it to the last moment. Finally, I won't be offering this package again for another year, probably October 2016. Do you want to leave it that long to start getting the results that you want? And if you decide not to take action, then this time next year and maybe the year after, you'll still be battling with compulsive overeating, low energy and more weight gain. You'll have continual confusion, anger and hopelessness will be your norms. You'll have high levels of anxiety and fear. Any health issues you have will continue to get worse. Your focus will be inward and one of isolation. Your relationships with significant people will continue to deteriorate due to your inward and obsessive focus. You cannot have fulfilling relationships with people while your first relationship is with food. But what if you do take action now? Then very exciting things will happen. You'll recognise hunger and only eat when you're hungry. You'll have lost weight, that's if you need to. You'll have sustained energy throughout each day, no highs and lows. Your secrecy around food and social isolation will become unthinkable, just a distant memory. You will have a rewarding friendship and relationship network that you're active at keeping, but without effort, because you're facing outward and not inward. You'll be living with ever greater purpose and clarity, not confused and aimless. You'll be getting the results you have wanted for a very long time. You'll be making more and more things happen because you're in control of you in the right way. You won't feel powerless anymore. You'll know abundance in your life every single day. Diets and purging are gone and you eat what you want without shame or guilt. So just to remind you, this offer has a closing date of the 18th of October 2015. There's only room for 10 highly motivated participants to attend. Once I reach 10, the offer closes. You're not a confirmed participant unless your deposit is paid. If you're content to keep overeating, losing energy and putting on weight, take no action. I only work with people who are highly motivated and committed to doing what it takes to get new and fantastic results for themselves. I won't be offering this package again for another year, so act now as this feels totally right for you. The last thing I want to say to you is you can absolutely do this. I have 100% faith in your success. You're going to be living a beautiful and unrecognisable new reality very soon. And why do I say that with such certainty? Because if I can do it, anybody can do it. So here's the offer again. Weekly one-to-one Skype calls for 6 months, then every other week for the next 6 months. Group Skype coaching calls each month for 12 months at the least. 6 abundance steps to implement at your own pace. 10 modules, one released every other week over 20 weeks. 2 extra telephone calls per month for the first 6 months, if needed. They're not obligatory. Lifetime access to all the modules, all 6 steps and all the group coaching calls. Any bonus modules I release will also be available indefinitely. An all expenses paid 5-night retreat and workshop at the end of the first year in South Wales, UK. The approximate date is September 2016. There you'll meet up with all your new friends, relax, eat great food and learn together. Furthermore, you'll stop your compulsive overeating, you'll lose weight, gain energy and take control of your whole life. That's a result I know you want. It will be without dieting and without a grueling exercise schedule. This system has already worked for me, for the people I trained with, and the people I've been coaching prior to launching this package. It works. It's fantastic value because you will get true results that will possibly mean more to you than anything you have yet and ever done. If for any reason you decide this isn't for you, you'll get your whole investment back, 100% guaranteed, no quibble. The offer is for 10 people maximum. Act quickly to secure your place. Do you know of any other coaching package that brings so many essential elements and benefits that are needed for healing compulsive overeating? Are you still here? You've made it all the way to the end. Well, in that case, I'm going to make 2 assumptions. The first one, you know you want this offer and you've got what it takes. You're going to succeed, you've got the motivation and you've got the commitment. The second one is that I know you want this offer and I'm almost certain you've got what it takes. We'll just work together with your questionnaire and the free consultation and then you're in. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. It already shows your level of commitment. If you have any questions now, you can ask me them underneath here. The next page has my email on it. Thank you so much for watching.